Actually 6:02, and I'm calling the March 22nd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting to order at this time. First order of business is to approve the agenda. I'll take a motion at this time.
I'll move the agenda for this evening.
Support? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Next order of business to approve the consent agenda. I'll take a motion.
I'll move the consent agenda for this evening.
Second?
Support.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Public comment section, this is actually for general comments. Some of the other agenda items may have public hearings associated specifically with them. So if there's anybody that'd like to speak at this time, please raise your hand. Going once, going twice. Okay, if nobody is interested in public comment at this time, we'll close that section of the agenda and move forward. All right, our first agenda item is the Ravines at Inwood Plat Phase 3. Carl, would you please read the applicant information for the Ravines at Inwood Plat Phase 3?
Project name, the Ravines at Inwood, Phase 4 PUD, Phase 3 plat. Applicant Jeff Clausen on behalf of Cuts Hill Development LLC. Project address 6500 Cuts Hill Drive Northeast. Permanent parcel number 41 10 14 276 003. Size of site, entire PUD 93 acres. Plat Phase 3, 13 acres. Zoning, PUD, planned unit development. Description and action requested of the Planning Commission to hold a public hearing and consider a recommendation to the Township Board for tentative preliminary plat approval for the Ravines at Inwood PUD Phase 4, Plat Phase 3.
All right, is the applicant here? All right, if you would come forward to the podium, give us your name and give us the details on the project, please.
Sure. I'm Rob Behrens with Naderveld, and I'm here with Jeff Clausen on behalf of Cuts Hill Development. We're here tonight seeking tentative preliminary plat approval for Inwood Ravines Phase 3. It's the fourth plat within the development. As you can see, Phases 1 and 2, just for clarity, Phase 1, Phase 2 of the plat. We developed this as Phase 3 of the plat, but because there's a separation between this development and that plat line, they're not adjacent contiguous. We had to rename this. This is called Inwood, the Ravines at Inwood South. So it is the third phase, but it's not contiguous to Phases 1 and 2 of the Ravines at Inwood. So it's a technicality based on the Plat Act. But this is the fourth phase, which is important for a later, couple of comments later. We're seeking 32 single-family lots as part of this phase. The project is set up for all the utilities. We did that with the first few phases. Sanitary sewer is stubbed to here that will serve the rest of this development as well as the condos in the future. Water main will loop through, eventually connect here on the next phase. Stormwater will be directed to the existing detention facility that was built with Phase 1. And that water drains out and ends up at M37. As part of the PUD, and we've read the staff report, the PUD required 3 specific things. The bike trail along Cuts Hill be built, and across our frontage at the top of the hill on Phase 1, across from Magnified Church, and our outlots, we built that. And then we constructed the bike trail across the Inwood South property, and since then your township engineer has extended through the non-platted portions. So we fulfilled that obligation. The PUD also required, as contiguous with Phase 4 of the plat, PUD plat, we would build the pavilion area. That is located here. That is the plan, that is what has been proposed, and we can flip to that at the end here, but there is a rendering of what they're gonna do for the pavilion and the amenities and playground and things, so we are planning on doing that. The third thing that was required is southbound Cuts Hill at Rogue River, some right turn improvements. We were prepared to do that, did some topo. Evidently, there's been some discussions between the road commission and the township, and maybe even MDOT or soon to be MDOT, about how to make that intersection work better than it does. So we did an estimate. The township engineer reviewed it. Pete and his group reviewed it. The road commission reviewed it. We agreed on a number, including, I don't know, 25% for engineering and contingencies. And the developers have agreed to write that check to the road commission, I think, to be held in escrow. And they're gonna use that when they come up with a design with some of their public funds to redo it, and they're gonna take on that construction. But we agreed to take our funds and deposit them to be used for a little bit bigger, better, more thorough project maybe than just the right turn to the, headed to the south. So that's it in a nutshell. Jeff and I here to answer any questions that you may have of us.
I think we'll start with staff comments first. Elizabeth, is this you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, this is me, and Pete has been working on this too, so, yeah, I think the applicant did a great job of giving an overview. This is technically the PUD's fourth phase, which does trigger all of these improvements that need to be made. Here's the community center renderings that the applicant was referring to. They are required to do this as part of this plat. We've worked out, sidewalks, all of the infrastructure that needs to go in. The proposed lots do meet the requirements of the PUD, which is the purpose of tentative preliminary plat, just to make sure that the lots they're proposing meet either the zoning ordinance or the PUD regulations, which these do. The amount in escrow for those intersection improvements was approved by the road commission and staff, so we're comfortable recommending preliminary plat approval at this time. Pete, do you want to add anything?
Just a little background, the road commission is looking at a alternative Michigan type of turnaround down there at that intersection. They're investigating what will work and not work right now. We wouldn't expect that to happen this year, but perhaps next year if it was going to. So this is a little bit more background on that part of it.
Staff-wise? Okay. We'll open this agenda item up for public comment. If there's anybody wishing to make comment, raise your hand, and then we'll invite you up to the podium. Sir, if you'd like to come up to the podium, state your name, address first.
I can remember the address. My name is William Sneller. I'm the president of the Council of Plainfield Christian Reformed Church. I think the address is 6350 Cuts Hill Drive. We're the church property adjoining. My only question, I guess, on this is that you pointed out that there's a retention pond. Where does the water go from that retention pond?
Goes south to M37 in front of, what's that gentleman's name? And then there's a church there.
Okay, so
That water does not go.
that water goes towards Northland Drive?
No, correct, yes, it goes to Northland Drive.
It comes out by the old Victory Baptist Church.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that, it wasn't complicating anything more than we were having going on right now with water from the first.
Any additional public comment? Anybody else wishing to make a statement? Raise your hand. Without seeing anybody, I will close the public comment portion of it, and we will see what questions the commissioners have. Jim, we'll start down on your end.
I have nothing here, thank you.
Dennis?
I have nothing at this time, no.
Carl?
No, I have no comments.
Peter and Elizabeth covered the questions. My question was, do we have any time frame that the road commission has for the improvements on Cuts Hill? And the answer is nope. So it sounds like next year. So I'm all set. Thank you, Brian.
Okay. My only questions, the cost of the road, I mean, that preliminary was being put in escrow. What if that is way off by the time they get around to doing this, or something drastically different has to be done?
Well, the amount of money that they are contributing is only a percentage of what will have to be spent to make.
But
sure
if
this
it does
happens.
come in higher, they're done.
Yeah, it's gonna be a commitment by the township and the road commission to make these improvements. But essentially with the money we're getting from, I guess it's Biden bucks, I can't remember the exact term, but, that's one of the anticipated projects that we might be able to make happen now.
So that's not a concern with budgetary.
Well, it certainly is, but the fallback is if all else fails and the road commission design isn't gonna happen, then we can come back and still put the right turn lane in there, which this covers.
Okay.
And that's what that money is held in.
Hoping to find a better solution, maybe?
The right turn lane is a nice thing, but ultimately does not solve the problem there. The problem there is left turns onto Wolverine Boulevard and Rogue River there.
I think that's all the questions I have. If everybody is good, I'll take a motion at this time. If somebody would like to,
I'll make the motion. I move to recommend tentative preliminary plat approval to the Township Board for Ravines at Inwood Plat Phase 3, PUD Phase 4, for 32 platted lots, subject to the following conditions of approval. Number 1, the applicant shall complete the required amenities as outlined in Ravines at Inwood PUD ordinance to amend prior to build-out of the Ravines at Inwood Plat Phase 3, PUD Phase 4. And 2, the applicant shall provide escrow funds to the Kent County Road Commission in the amount equal to the improvements required to the Cuts Hill Drive/Rogue River Road intersection as approved by the township engineer and the Kent County Road Commission.
we have a second.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Passes. Thank you very much. Our next agenda item is the Valley expansion. Carl, would you like to read that applicant information, please?
Project name, the Valley Rezone and PUD Expansion. I think I'm reading the right one, yes. Applicant, Zed Posak, on behalf of TEG Valley LLC. Project address, 4248 and 4325 Pine Forest Drive Northeast, 4209 and 4243 East Belline Avenue, and 3110 5 Mile Road. Permanent parcel number 411034226045, 411034226042, 411034226046, 411034226009, and 411034226049. Size of site, entire PUD 34.09 acres, development area 0.51 acres, zoning PUD planned unit development, project description and action request of the Planning Commission to hold a public hearing to consider an amendment to expand the Valley planned unit development PUD by rezoning approximately 0.51 acres at 4243 East Beltline Avenue and a small portion of 4248 Pine Forest Drive from O office to PUD to demolish an existing home and allow for a 3,200 square foot 6-unit apartment building in the same location.
Applicant is here. If you'd like to come forward to the podium, please give us your name and details on the project.
Evening, I'm Paul Henderson with Rosine and Associates. I must apologize, I'm not the project engineer. He is out of town, as well as our client, Zev Pasek. They're both unable to attend tonight, so I'm filling in. The actual project is fairly small, as you can see. This is East Belt Line. There's an existing driveway coming in here with an existing driveway, parking lot, and apartments adjacent to the proposed apartment. The site improvements are very minimal. Adding a few parking spaces here. We're gonna share some with the existing parking lot. It's a 2-story, 3-unit apartment building. Stormwater management's all being handled on site. It'll discharge to the existing storm sewer and Pine Forest Drive. Water and sewer utilities are all available adjacent to the site. That's about all I have. It's a fairly simple project. It's kind of wrapped up into the PUD amendment, which is a much larger project, but the actual proposal is fairly small area.
Staff, is this Peter?
Yep.
Is this you? Okay.
So what you have, and I'll just go through a brief bit of the history first, is that they came in a couple years ago to rezone this existing single-family home into office and a portion of their property that was part of the existing apartment complex. That project, that plan fell through, and then they were essentially a non-conforming house. And they came back to see what they could do with the property. And we said, well, you can't reuse it as a house. You have the office option, or you can tear it down. And staff suggested they could pursue an office or a apartment building utilizing some of the existing infrastructure there. But did urge them to be as far away from East Beltline Avenue as possible to meet the intent of the overlay district and generally kind of meet the characteristics of the area. Subsequently, as we reviewed the PUD, we noted it had not been completely updated, because when they came in for the improvements in 2017 for the overall development, we didn't have to go through the process we have now. So we're also expanding the PUD in a way, so we have to clean up all the language that's in the existing PUD. So it's a twofold action. One, rezoning the property from office to PUD, potentially, as well as amending the PUD, and we kind of wrapped it all into one motion here for you, if you're willing to recommend it to the Township Board. There is one condition of approval. I do have most of the material, but we staff-wise are looking for a consolidated map of the entire PUD as it is today, so we can put it in our book as a reference. So anytime they come in the future, we have this set-in-stone map drawing. So overall, I look at this as a cleanup in general, and then as well as kind of eliminating a non-conforming use on the belt line, and this would be more consistent with the master plan and consistent with the character of the surrounding area. Their source staff is recommending approval of the rezone or recommending a favorable recommendation to the Township Board of the rezone and PUD amendment. But I do need to note the applicant is also here tonight later, and if they do get a favorable recommendation for site plan approval, that site plan approval will be conditioned upon Township Board approval. So they're taking this step now because they went through all the effort in engineering for the PUD amendment, but they'll still have to wait for that Township Board meeting as well as the period of waiting time so anybody that wants to appeal approval for a rezone. So there's a lot there. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, this is also a public hearing section. Is there anybody interested in making comments at this time? Please raise your hand. Well, okay. Okay, if you'd like to make a comment, I need you to step up to the podium, state your name, address, please, and thank you.
I do?
Give us your name, address, and then make your comments.
Lucinda Gazan, 31445 Mile Northeast. Okay?
Yep, And just go ahead with your comments.
Okay. The apartments were developed on west of our house on 5 Mile and the road that goes into Hidden Valley, or no, whatever it's called. And we've been looking at dead trees for 2 years now. No irrigation has ever happened. Trees were replaced once, not taken care of, so they died. And we've been asking the township, how do we get this resolved? And I would like something to happen. I know it's minor to this whole development, but we have to look at the mess. And we'd like some kind of leverage, I guess, in the approval, not going through until they at least give a plan and a time when this is going to be resolved. Now, I talked to Peter, and he said it won't be a chain link fence. It'll be a fence of some kind. I'd like to know what kind of fence. I'd like to know where it'll be placed, because we've planted a lot of trees in that area and bushes in the past year, 2 years, I guess. So if we have to move them, we need to know in advance. But we'd like some kind of timeline as to when this will be taken care of. I really don't want to look at this. I can't believe the renters like looking at it, but it concerns my husband and I. Okay?
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Anybody else, public comment, wishing to speak at this time? As I see nobody raising their hands, we'll close that section down, and we will ask for Planning Commission comments.
Staff already weighed in?
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
we have been in discussion with the Kazans quite a bit over the years. The applicant has, when they built the building, they took down the existing vegetation, and they were required to replace it with evergreens. They did not irrigate those evergreens, and the 2 or 3 attempts that they have done over the years have all died. Therefore, we're at a fence, though I did write the condition in there under site plan approval, which is where it should be addressed. We did put a condition in there that they may be able to put evergreens in there if they can irrigate that. I think that'd be more acceptable to most people. Otherwise, they're gonna have to put a solid wall, probably vinyl fence in there, and we did add in that condition that it had to be done by June 30th of this summer. So.
We'll start down on this end this time.
As far as it pertains to the rezoning for the corner lot at 4243, I don't have any questions except a clarification. Paul, you had mentioned that it's a 2-story building, or is it the plan says 3-story?
2 units on each story.
Thank you. That is all.
Carl?
I have a question, and maybe I'm not thinking correctly. We approved a development. Yeah, that one there. Is that part of this?
There are 2 independent apartment developments.
Okay, so what's being built there today is totally separate from what this is. So this request is for the house that adjoins all of the property to the south. And, yeah, it doesn't belong to this, it belongs to all this.
Yep.
Okay. That was my clarification. I was thinking it belonged to the other one, so, at this point, that's all I have.
Dennis?
I don't have a comment at this time. It makes sense to me that for rezoning to be, square up that lot and, so.
Jim?
Fine.
Nothing here, thanks.
I just had one quick question myself. There is no additional exits to the East Belt Line, no changes there, nothing that the state needs to be.
The existing driveway will be closed, which is one of our objectives here, and they will be using Sweetbriar, which is essentially the parking lot entrance to the apartment to the west.
Okay, so nothing changes on the belt. Actually, we actually reduced the
That is
exit
correct.
onto the belt in the driveway. Okay. That is all the questions I have. With no additional questions, I'll take them. Oh, Carl, one more question.
Peter?
Sure.
Can we do anything, or can we make a condition for plantings or irrigation of plantings, or is that gonna be strictly left up to staff?
You certainly are within your rights to make a condition or modify the condition, if you wish on that. I don't know if I don't know if Paul's in the position where he is assured that the applicant would agree to sprinkle that, but it's an option,
Well, I guess from the.
under
comments-
site plan. We separated that to deal with that under site plan.
That on the site plan?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Okay, I'll move that the planning commission recommend the township board approve the ordinances to amend to rezone 4243 East Beltline Avenue and a small portion of 4248 Pine Forest Drive from O office to PUD, and to permit the expansion of the Valley PUD development based on the findings and information provided in the staff report, subject to the following condition of approval. 1, the applicant shall provide the Community Development Department an updated development plan drawing for all the properties within the Valley PUD.
We have a second?
Support.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are passed on that particular agenda item. We'll move on to the next one, which also involves the valley. So, Carl, if you'd like to read that one.
Valley Site Plan Approval, Zed Pozak on behalf of TEG Valley LLC. Project address, part of 4248 Pine Forest Drive Northeast and 4243 East Beltline Avenue. Permanent parcel number 411034226045 and 411034226009. Size of site, development area 0.51 acres. Zoning in process of being rezoned to PUD planned unit development. Project description and action request of the Planning Commission to grant site plan approval to demolish an existing home and allow for a 3,200 square foot, 6-unit apartment building at 4243 East Beltline Avenue and on a small portion of 4248 in the Valley PUD development.
Any additional comments from the applicant, okay. Staff, any additional comments regarding this particular item?
Yeah, just in brief, they did mention the shared parking arrangement. We have had some discussions with the applicant to verify that they are comfortable with the amount of parking they have for the types of users they have. They have said so. They will, because these are going to be two separate parcels, need to provide the township a cross-access and a shared parking agreement, which will have to be recorded with the property. They cannot combine this property with the adjacent property in part because of the lending mechanism that they have on these properties. So it's a separate entity. So theoretically, someday they could sell this off as a separate piece, so. Also, just a note, we did ask the applicant, and they're agreed to it, extending sidewalk on the East Beltline area. There is there is a sidewalk that will be put in front of the apartments to the north, and they could probably work and coincide the two operations, I would imagine. Then lastly, I think that's just about it. There are a number of conditions of approval. Just please let me know if you have any current concerns or questions.
Planning Commission comments on this particular action? Jim, we'll start.
Just a couple, I see in the conditions of approval for site approval, the solid fence or irrigated landscaping is already in there. So we have that covered.
We have that covered, but I think what maybe Carl was saying, that he prefer it to be irrigated landscaping, but I'm not 100% sure.
Either
Okay.
one. And Second, it's mentioned in the discussion here that the dumpster is on the property line and it should be relocated. Should that be a condition?
Yeah, it is yeah, that'd be fine.
Nothing more.
Dennis?
I have no comment.
Carl?
I'm fine with either solid fence or the irrigation. I would prefer the irrigation, but I guess I'll leave either one of them. And I agree with Jim, the dumpster should be a condition of approval.
I have no comments or questions. Thank you.
With the irrigated greenery or the fencing, is that something that has to be approved by the township
Yeah,
before they
we're
move
gonna-
forward with it?
Yeah, there's also a code enforcement action on this. This is just solidifying that
Okay.
activity, so yes, it has to be approved by our ordinance
Okay,
enforcement
so
officer.
we have to approve what they do rather than just leaving it up to them.
That
Okay.
is correct. So we expect to get some sort of design from them acceptable, and we'll probably run it by, I would assume we'll run it by the Gazans.
Is there a time frame?
Uh,
Right, you would like to?
The applicant is committed in writing to do it this spring. We gave them a June 30th deadline, just in case it's a wet season, that type of thing. But they need to have it done sooner than later.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask for clarification from Pete, if I may?
Yes, if there's, yes.
On the dumpster, Pete, yeah, on which property line, what direction would
The
you see
plan
that?
the initial plan we had was, it was right on the line. And
Okay.
we're looking to get a little bit of separation between that, because, yeah, it needs to be, I think I said 3 feet at least from the property.
Okay, all right, thank you. We can do that.
Okay. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I move the planning commission grant site plan approval to construct a 3,200 square foot, 6-unit apartment building at 4243 East Beltline Avenue and part of 4248 Pine Forest Drive, subject to the following conditions. Number one, the applicant shall revise the site plan to show a sidewalk along East Beltline Avenue frontage. Number two, the applicant shall provide a photometric plan for approval by the Community Development Department prior to submittal of a building permit. Three, the applicant shall install a solid fence or irrigated landscaping buffer between the northernmost apartment building at 3110 5 Mile Road and 3144 5 Mile Road by June 30, 2022, to be approved by the Community Development Department. Four, the applicant shall enter into and record a shared parking and access agreement between 4243 East Beltline Avenue and 4248 Pine Forest Drive, subject to approval by the Community Development Department. Five, site plan approval is subject to approval by the Township Board of the Valley PUD expansion and rezone of 4243 East Beltline Avenue and a portion of 4248 Forest Drive from O Office to PUD Planned Unit Development. Six, the applicant shall provide the Community Development Department an updated development plan drawing for the Valley PUD. And we're adding a number 7, the planned dumpster directly abutting the property on the north side shall be relocated at least 3 feet away from the property line.
Second?
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion's passed. Thank you very much. Now we are on to appointments.
Appointment? Yes, appointments.
On to appointments, Parks and Recreation Committee. And who's handling this?
So we need 2 representatives from the Planning Commission. They can be the same person, they can be different people, for representation on the Parks and Rec Committee and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Right now, Carl is serving as both of those representatives, but whoever wants to do it for 2022 is welcome. We just need a motion for both of them.
Carl, what is your,
I'll stay if nobody else.
do you want to do both?
I've been doing both for some time. You know, ZBA meets maybe 2-3
Well,
times a year.
I was gonna say, I'm familiar with the ZBA just because I came from that route also, so I would be happy to do that if you
I
wanted to step back.
definitely want to
just
stay on Parks and Rec.
Okay.
I've been involved in that one from the time we started with the Trail Committee, so I'd really like to stay on that one, but if someone wishes the ZBA, I'm more than fine with that. Whatever the commission wishes.
Comment down this way? No, you're good?
I'm content with my lot in life, and
Okay.
I'm not gonna throw Jim and Marie under the bus because they can't represent themselves.
I'm already serving on the floodplain committee, so I'm.
Jack,
I'm
Jack,
doing
Jack,
just
yeah,
fine.
I would agree. It's unfair to appoint Marie or Jack to something without them here to fight for their own lives. I would be happy to do the ZBA if,
That's fine with me.
okay. Well, then I would move that Carl stays on the Parks and Recs Committee, and I move to the Zoning Board of Appeals as the representative for
So-
2022.
I'll support that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign? Passed, easy enough. Staff comments?
Did you want to bring up the Marie comments later, or do you want me to touch on it now?
Oh, no, the timing?
Yeah.
You can bring it up, that's fine.
All right. So when Marie called earlier this week, she mentioned that she's having difficulty making the 6 o'clock deadline, and was curious to see if the rest of the planning commission would consider moving the meeting time to 6:30.
We had discussed that at the last meeting, and I think we were in general, that was fine with most all of us.
Yeah, it's a push to get here by 6 if
Okay.
everything doesn't fall in line.
Okay.
My only concern is having different committees meet at different times, you know, with the board meeting at 6, and then we meet at 6:30 and others. So if that's not a problem with the township or any legal issues, I guess, then I don't have a problem.
I think the biggest challenge is probably going to be for us, just remembering which is which, and so we're going to have to be extra diligent on that part. But yeah, I think it's doable.
Can we start next month with that, or is this something we want to give it a trial?
Yeah, I think we can start next month. I don't see any reason why not.
If we run into problems, we can always address that at that time. But is anybody opposed to 6:30?
131, and that's a challenge.
Okay.
So.
Any other staff comments? Elizabeth?
I got nothing.
Could we
Sorry
get
about
you
the
a
technical
microphone of
issues.
your own?
I know we should.
In the budget? Come on.
$5.
We'll take up a offering right here. We'll do that. I'm good with staff comments then? We're all set? Commissioner comments? Anybody? Jim?
I have one.
Carl? Okay.
When the dog park went in on West River, it was then required that the other 4 parcels have sidewalks installed. It's been over a year, going on a year. I guess my request is that take place in 2022.
I drafted letters back in December for that and was told to put them on hold. I will revise that and get that moving.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't go anywhere, but it was a requirement, and we should stick to requirements.
The letters are ready to go. It was just a timing issue, so.
Question, what's the development or the improvements that are going on West River Drive by Hankinson's radiator shop? Is that just a reconstruction?
That's
National Storage.
yeah, they're redoing, that was part of the ZBA. They had to get a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's been ongoing since 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just
Yeah.
making it out to the West River. That's why it
Taking down
doesn't.
some of the old ugly buildings and putting nicer ones up. It's not a
Yeah.
bad
That's
thing.
what it was.
They're demoing, I think, 4 or 5 of the existing buildings and replacing it with one big, climate-controlled self-storage.
Elizabeth will attest to the fact that I can't remember the name of the project from year to year. She sent me the Northern Dell plan so I could look at it.
I was looking at this, I asked for the same thing.
I'm becoming Carl. Yes.
Any other comments, questions?
I do not.
Just a comment, question, idea. We've got the new zoning plan based on the township master plan and the changes that were made this past year. I'm just curious, are we planning on doing any kind of benchmarking as we move forward, reviewing that and its performance on an annual basis to review for potential opportunities for changes? Because I know there was concern, at least in this group, of parts of that new zoning document and how it was gonna work and how we're getting feedback from developers, if we're finding it's too restrictive or, you know, again, I'm just curious as to whether we're planning any kind of review.
So I think from staff's perspective, since this is the first time we're doing administrative reviews of projects, we were planning on bringing these to you as we get them and as kind of courtesy, just here's what's going on, here's, you know, updates throughout the year. We can definitely keep you very up to date, and if you find that you're not liking what you're seeing, we can definitely revisit. There's no sort of schedule for an official review of it, but certainly keep us informed of your opinions and comments along the way.
Well, and keep us informed too if you're finding that you're running into impediments as a result of the new rules and regulations, from getting feedback from the developers. If, you know, we need to look at changes as we move down the road. You maintain the flexibility we need to have in that document and plan to move forward.
Yeah, definitely. We're actually coming to you next month with quite a few just general code updates. I don't think any of them include the MXU.
Just so you know, what we have done is we met with Suzanne, because we're retaining her as a consultant, with a number of shareholders along the corridor, and we've sat down because they wanted to get an idea of what they had to do. So we've had 3 or 4 little workshop meetings with them as they prepare to projects. I don't expect we'll see anything until summer, but, and that's going to be where we're going to find out what kind of hiccups we're going to have to deal with. So we're getting there. I think the biggest one we had to figure out, but we're covered right now, is what does a second story mean? You know, how much square footage it has to be, mezzanine, that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a learning process, and I expect we probably towards next fall, we'll probably have to come back to you with some of those things that need to be fixed. But
Thank you.
There's actually a complaint on Facebook about the Whitmark building being gone, so that was a first.
No.
Have to listen to a
Yes.
car wash now.
That's right. They were complaining that they have to see and listen to a car wash now instead of the
I'm
back
glad
of
you
a
read my
Whitmark.
comments.
Yeah. I saw that. You just, sometimes you can't make anybody happy, I guess.
It wasn't me.
Any additional comments? With that, we will adjourn the meeting at, what is it, 6:45?